You're on the couch, tripping with Dr. Pete.
We're out here. It's good to have you. Thanks for joining the show. We're going to be talking today a little bit about falling back in love with yourself, or the process of loving yourself. I don't think it's easy. I don't think it's easy to, even relationships with other people are difficult. The monks, when they go away to monasteries, when they live that monastic life, the first thing, that they say, the reason they can't get married, the reason, this is, true for other kind of priests and so forth. The reason why they don't do that is because they say it's really difficult to negotiate your own mind. To negotiate the thoughts of someone else is almost impossible. And it's true. I feel like coming into contact with yourself is difficult. Being able to love yourself is difficult. And it's a journey. I really do believe that. I feel like even for myself, the choices I make, choice by choice, you can either like yourself more, find yourself not liking yourself so much. So I've been thinking about this a lot because I'm in this space more recently. My weight loss is my major struggle. I've always struggled with my weight, but in times I've had more success than others. Sometimes it's been really hard. But when I'm eating right, when I'm in this space where I'm making choices of just clean eating, I learn so much about myself. I like myself so much more. And I've realized more recently that those moments when you deviate, when you make more poor, when you make your poor choice or you eat the wrong thing, it really becomes, it's an act like this, Marion Williamson, it becomes like an act of self-hate. And it really, she says, and I think she says it well, I say it all the time, I've never heard it described better. So when we're eating certain foods, it's like we're looking for love in a place that love doesn't exist. So we're trying to make ourselves feel loved, feel that level of happiness, and through food. I know for me that's absolutely the truth, but it doesn't have to be food. For you guys, you can have a bunch of different things. It could be stereo. It could be, right? It could be anything that you find yourself looking for that rush. Social media has that effect. Drugs have that effect. Marijuana has alcohol. Whatever it is that gives you that sense of kind of peace, happiness, but it's fleeting. It's fleeting. You maybe have it while you're doing it or while you're experiencing the thing, but it doesn't stay with you. And then sometimes, for most of those types of things, the minute you're done, it kind of costs you. There's very few things that kind of feel good afterwards, that feel good during. Like if you think about it, right? The gym, most things that feel good during, like they feel horrible during. They feel horrible. And then you get to have that outcome at the end where you feel like, yeah, this is what it was worth. This is where it's at. It's just so hard to kind of push the self to go make those difficult choices, to do those difficult, demanding things. I really think it is. I think the other side of it too is I think that when you see yourself making the difficult choice more often, staying true to a certain path, when you see yourself doing it over time, I think you like yourself more. I do. I really do. I think you like yourself because of the choices, the very difficult choices that you're making. Let me see here. How many people in the audience, and I'm going to ask you guys a question and I want to hear your response. If you're really honest with yourself, do you love you? Do you love you? I'm trying to be, I think sometimes loving yourself is like almost like a fragile space, right? Like it can be very much, you can be taken off of loving yourself pretty easily sometimes. Like the being that I am, every day you can kind of be in a space where it's like, I don't even like what you did today, but then, there's some general sense, and people, I think sometimes when people have that real inflated sense of self-liking, sometimes I have questions. I'm like, are you taking a really good look at you? Or maybe they're just living in a place of And this is what I've been thinking about a lot. Acceptance. It's a little bit different than self-liking. It's self-acceptance. It's like I'll like myself a little more because I accept that I have strengths and limitations. I'm not going to beat myself up for my limitations. I want to hear you guys and your thoughts. Pop it.
Hey, Dr. Pete. Interesting topic. And I was just thinking, when we've been in long-term relationships, we tend to lose our identity and we end up kind of morphing into other people's wants and needs, particularly as women. And I think it's really interesting that when you start to know yourself and love yourself again and look at all the bad habits you've picked up and all the things you've told yourself and all the things that aren't true, that can be a real revelation and hard work, but liberating at the same time. That's just my 2 pence worth.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Great to see you. Great to be seen. Thanks for coming in, Anna Toodles. What a mind on that woman. Yeah, I do feel like that. I feel like sometimes when you, it's okay. Stay with me for a second here. Whether it's people, places, or things, the nouns have to love you back. Just stay with me for a second here. What I mean by that is, it's like if you subject yourself to people, places, or things that don't love you back, then eventually you stop loving yourself as much. I think you do. I think you can you kind of lose yourself sometimes to those things. You're definitely influenced. There's a system going. You influence the things, people, places, but they're also influencing you. If you're not careful, that synergy can be an unhealthy one. That interaction can, be more detrimental to your being. But in terms of the notion of liking yourself, yeah. If the people that you're around, the person that is supposed to be your person, if they're not giving you affirming energy, that could be rough, right? It's rough for you to like yourself and you're constantly dealing with criticism. How can you feel good about yourself if your partner's always kind of talking about the half empty in your personality? And here's the thing I've come to understand. Sometimes that's not even a function of you. Sometimes they're just, wholly miserable in their own being. Most times that's the case, right? Yeah. Let's pop some bubbles. I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
Like, I have fun while I'm watching porn, but then once I bust a nut, I look at myself and I'm like,
yes,
what is wrong
great
with
example.
me? Why did I just watch porn? Women love me. And then even with the women, if I'm not really committed to having a baby with the woman, I look at myself and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm hurting this person's feelings.
Yeah.
So I got to be more intentional with my skeets.
I love that. And that's to me, that's a sign in men when you get in that space as a guy where you're being really intentional about who you sleep with. I think that's a real sign of maturity. And I think, if I'm going to be honest, men, not only will you have better relationships when you're intentional that way, but you'll love yourself. You'll love the other person. It's going to really come back. You're going to like the man that you're being. A lot of what we hear in this social media space, the tensions that are existing between men and women, are a lot of times people trying to defend their lesser self. So they get to keep it. Now think about that for a minute. Whether they're defending the guys defending their, hypersexuality, like, yeah, we gotta, their lack of integrity. You know what I'm saying? Like they're defending bullshit. Or if it's women defending the anger, the accusation, like, come on, what are you doing so angry? Like you're hurting the relationship by not, loving well enough. They're defending, well, they're providing a rationale. And we know kind of whenever you put an excuse forward, it's creating a rationale for a thing so you can keep it. If we take honest looks at ourselves, sometimes we're not even being the person that's worthy of being loved by ourselves. If we're honest. The thing that they say about the subconscious, and you tell me what you think, I really want to hear your thoughts on this. They say the subconscious is taking notes on all things, like it's checking you all the way out. So whether, you can't really hide from yourself. So if you've been being a good person or not, if you're being someone worthy of loving. You know when you're not trying hard enough in given areas. And sometimes we're really hard on ourselves, right? Like extra hard. Now, those people, the high achieving, and, I've been in that space where it's a lot of perfectionistic pressure. Now, that's bullshit. That was way too much. That's you crushing yourself and hating yourself for no good reason. Now, you people, those folks who are probably in this room, some of you guys need to ease up on yourselves a little bit. And then there's the people who just kind of distort or rationalize or give, great reason for being their lesser selves most of the times. And those people, man, they suffer from a deep level of what I believe is self-hate. I gotta say, as a person with weight and struggle, the weight that gets on you from making poor choices, it's like you hate the choices that you make. You hate feeling out of control. You hate the lack of discipline that happens at times, especially when you're tired or stressed out, right? And then your body holds it and it says, yeah, I'm going to remind you of your poor choices. And now it's in the form of fat and stuck on you. And now you're undesirable. And now you can't even like yourself. It's real. It's like, holy shit, what a really direct negative outcome to a poor choice. Most choices don't work that way, right? Like they're just bad choices and they're in the past. Like you have bad sex with unless she gives you herpes. That shit ain't going nowhere. Hold on.
I started to grow my self-love. It all started on my birthday last year, December 1st. Started working out again. Now I'm cutting back on my unintentional skeets. And I'm doing more work in the log game or, my Home Depot game, really. I work at Home Depot. And I just got to get back to the grizzle, back to the grind. The weather is nice, even though it's cold.
Yeah. And he doesn't work at Home Depot, folks. But if that's what he's going with, then I'm behind him. It's what he's saying, though, right, no matter where he works, is putting his efforts into things that are really important. There's a thing, too, for us, right? What we do is so defining for how we feel about ourselves. People argue, they say you shouldn't define yourselves only by what you do. But I find it hard. I don't know. At some level, like even your work, right? Like there's so many choices of what you can do for an occupation to make money, right? A lot of times, though, we find ourselves trapped with making money as the occupation. And the thing that we do is really meaningless to us. We don't even like ourselves. Very little satisfaction. There's a lot of research on, job satisfaction. Some of it boils down to autonomy, feeling like you get to have some creativity, feeling like you're kind of in your stride, in your flow, something that you're passionate about. Time moves differently when you work in those ways. But how many of us get to be in that situation? Here's the killer, right? You can have something that you're good at, something that you're passionate about and like, but you may not make enough money. It's the way our society is set up, right? Like if you don't make enough money, then you can't survive in that thing. So then you may like yourself for what you're doing, but you may not like yourself for being poor or not, money being tight, being stressed out by finance. There's this kind of rule they say, and then there's they did a study that say to look at people's happiness and the correlation between their happiness and how much money they have. And there's a point when everything's kind of taken care of, like when you're okay, right? Like you're making your bills and you're maybe even putting away a little bit and you're comfortable, you're okay. The happiness stops. It doesn't increase anymore after that. Like you can have an abundance of wealth, and the research shows, and you imagine that it's in the wealth that is the happiness, and you'll love yourself when you're wealthy. But the research, it just kind of doesn't support that. Yeah. It says that, in fact, not only does it level off at a certain point, but when you get a certain amount of wealth, and I guess it's because life obligations become so demanding, your happiness actually starts to come down a bit. Now that you would never thought, right? You think that the billionaires are all like, then you get Puffy coming out singing, more money, more problems. That might be a thing. Let me pop these bubbles here. What's up, you guys? Good morning. I'm Dr. Pete. You're hanging out. We're talking about the path of loving yourself and loving yourself more. Thanks for joining the show, and I appreciate your comments. We're in the process of putting this show out on different platforms. So we're streaming replays on YouTube, Spotify, Anchor, which is pretty cool. And so you hear the live show in stereo, and we're doing it again a little bit differently in these other places. So please, if you can, follow me on Instagram, and I'll be keeping you informed as we drop our season 1 of Dr. P. Please follow me on Instagram at Ask Dr. P, and we'll do that. In the meantime, let's pop some of these bubbles and get to the show.
Hey, Dr. Pete. This is
Hey,
Lala. Good
I
seeing you
know.
online. Yes, there is a very thin line between love and hate. There's a lot of things that we love that hate us. And, even in relationships, sometimes the love that we have for people is really like on the edge of like totally disliking or hating that person and knowing that person could possibly not be good for you. When we were younger, could hang around the wrong people and know that it wasn't good for us. But yeah, back on the topic. Yeah, we have to always reflect and think about how we can love ourselves better. Happy Wednesday.
Hey, Lala. I know it's Lala, and it is Wednesday. It's hump day. So we're talking about loving yourself, and she makes a point here. She says, it's a thin line, and I like that. It's a thin line, a song between love and hate. It really is. And the thing that you ask yourself, just like she said, is this person, place, or thing loving me back? Is this food loving me back? I've been doing that with food for me. It really, Joe was saying, when he's connected to these women, he starts feeling emptiness to it. Like, am I really loving them? Now, he talked about it in terms of, having a child. Like, but I also would think love is a part of that too. If it's not, it should be, right? It's not just for having a baby. It should be for love. Yeah. When I start bringing up the conversation of love, it's such a, there's so many volumes written on the topic. And so people start to get, semantic in the definition of the thing, and some people even argue it's just a chemical reaction, right? But I guess that would be it. Let's look into that for a second. If you loved yourself in a way that was really good, when you think about yourself, you should feel a sense of happiness. You should like the person that you are. In the full summary of your being, you should say, yeah, I like me. I love me. And the more I do, I got to tell you, the more difficult choices I make, when I make the choices that are uncomfortable, that are hard to do, the more I like myself. I've been eating clean for a couple weeks now. It's been 3 weeks, 3 weeks of really clean eating, sticking strictly to, a program that is, based on plant-based and just really highly nutritious. And I feel like the food in itself, it helps me sleep. My thoughts are clearer. Everything's cleaner as a function of my diet. And I know that, and I don't mean diet in terms of restriction. I mean diet in terms of just making choices that allow for me to love myself more. That's a real thing. Because in that wrong choice, check this out, right? Here's how this loop works. And I want to pop these bubbles. Here's how this loop works. So we look for something that makes us feel good, whether feel energy, feel happy, whatever it is in terms of food, pornography, whatever it is that you think is your little boost, right? We're looking for this thing in that, and we get it. It's fleeting. But as soon as we have it, as soon as it's done, we kind of feel less good. We look back, and we're kind of feeling a sense of like, look at what you've done. And doing that over and over, that cycle of poor choice and feeling, a sense of guilt, shame, self-deprecation, feeling that over and over, I think it weighs on us and it puts you in a little bit of a compromised position, like in a lowered state of happiness. That's what I think. Yeah. And so then all of a sudden you're in this lowered state of happiness, right? And then you're going to choose out of there. And choosing out of that diminished space, it's only going to get you more like fucked up shit. Like, so now you become on this path in this downward spiral of self-hate choices. So you're a little bit down. So you choose, I need more junk food to try to pick me up. You know what I'm talking about, right? You're looking for something that gives you this boost of happiness because you're feeling if you do the hard thing, if you go to the gym, you feel better about yourself. You take a walk for a mile, you immediately, even if you're not where you want to be, which is the crazy thing, you automatically like yourself more just for trying, just for doing like the healthier thing, you know, just for doing the right choice or making a choice that actually feeds you. You feel better about yourself almost immediately. I'm loving myself a lot more lately because I make right choices every day. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about how I've done that. But yeah, we got bubbles to pop here. What's up, you guys? I'm Dr. Pete. Hang out.
Great thought. Losing yourself while you love something else that doesn't love you back.
Yeah.
Never thought about it. Great thought.
Thanks, Lala. I appreciate you. Hang out. We're popping some bubbles. We'll come right back.
So an interesting point, actually. A bit of a share is that my love language as a child was criticism. So guess what? I picked partners who didn't disappoint in that department. But I think it's interesting when you start to get out of yourself, particularly if you've left a relationship which isn't suiting you. You have to start from ground zero. You don't really know who you are. You don't really know what your wants, needs and likes are, because a lot of the things have been suppressed over time. And that doesn't mean to say the relationship was abusive. It's that you've lost yourself in that time. And I think it can be a real revelation to go, oh my God, I've got to start again and I don't know how to. And it can be scary, but it can be really exciting.
Yeah.
So you're never too old to start over is always what I say.
And Anna, when you have that orientation, right? When you say to yourself that it's never too late to start over, or basically, more importantly, you have the belief that you'll always be able to find love. You'll always be able to find love in someone else. You'll always be able to find something that you love about yourself, and just be willing to stand up again and just journey, even from the beginning. What I've been trying to do is fall in love with the journey, not the outcome, not the destination. It allows for me to be more patient. Because as soon as I start to get into outcome measurement and an assessment of myself, right, which is important to some degree, you got to know if you got to assess your outcomes just to see if you're on the right path, right? But as soon as I get really like too heavy focused on, how's the scale doing, or how's, that type of stuff, I start beating myself up and I start increasing my anxiety, which makes me make poor choices from that diminished space, compromised space, right? I start feeling hopeless, and hopelessness always, that's like the worst thing you can feel. That'll always make you want to quit. Even the research on depression, the people who are suicidal, their hopelessness is off the charts. To lose hope is everything. And sometimes if you don't get the result that you want, or if you lack patience, very slippery slope. It's very easy to become hopeless. Yeah, we're popping. You guys have so many things that we're thinking about here. You guys got me talking about a bunch here. Let's pop some bubbles here, and then we'll come back. And we're talking about self-love and your journey into loving yourself more. I want to hear about it.
And yeah, Pete, I know that you have the whole challenge with weight loss. Sometimes I think that when we spend a lot of time on that not being done in a perfect way, that we won't do it better. Sometimes we just have to take those steps to be consistent and not worry about having deviations and not being so hard on ourselves because we didn't do that one thing perfectly.
Yeah. Being punitive is not good with yourself, for sure. And it'll definitely stop your ability to love yourself. Being too harsh. And it creates a horrible cycle, because if you beat yourself up too much, right, then you'll make choices out of that space. Right? So it creates a downward spiral. They say when you become anxious, even procrastination, for example, people who procrastinate, which all of us struggle with at some degree. There's an anxiety. There's a connection to anxiety. They have fear about their performance. They push it off. Then they have greater fear about their performance, so they push it off further. right? Now, there is something to be said about the folks who kind of get it in last minute. There's some type of, there's some type of point of perfection where there's enough anxiety to get them pushed and get them started, but not too much where it impairs performance, and not too little time where they don't get enough to put enough quality in. But there is something about the pressure that pushes us. I've done enough poor choices that make me say, yeah, I got to really start to make good choices from here. I'll tell you this, for me, eating clean consistently, I've had to take it all the way out of my hands. So not only do I have a chef who prepares my food and chooses, she makes vegan options, but my wife, she does me the favor, and I really thank her for it every day. She takes the portions and she, puts together the choices out of the, because the chef cooks for the week. And my wife will take the meal, and I'm trying to do one meal a day, intermittent fasting. And she preps the meal for me, and it's totally a clean meal. And she presents it, she gives it to me. And that takes the choice out of my hands, because I realized I was going to the refrigerator and I was looking at the chef's food like, I don't feel like eating greens right now. Right? Like, the mind is so fucked up in a way. Like, it makes it like you just tell yourself you don't want a thing. Even if it's healthy, like, you can have a piece of fruit there that is going to nourish your body, satiate your hunger, or you can have fucking a cookie. And for the most part, for whatever fucking reason, because of the rush of the cookie, give me 100 cookies, not 100 bananas. Who says I'm going to eat 100 bananas? I can literally eat 50 cookies, easy. 50 bananas? Even if I tried, I don't think I do 50 bananas. All right, let's pop some bubbles here. We're seeing what's up. I appreciate you guys for hanging out. We're thinking about a lot of different stuff here, and I appreciate you guys being so kind and supportive of my struggles. I think I'm not the only one. And it doesn't have to be about food. It could be about anything. Anything that you're looking to kind of give you a false sense of happiness. Anything that you're looking to distract you from, from life in some ways. In some ways, it can cost you and make you not like yourself. Yeah. People, places, and things. Let's keep thinking about it in those terms, because there's some people in your life that are in your way of loving you. Yeah. There's some people that have taught you that you're not worthy of more love. Sometimes those people from the past have created kind of an archetype, and they influence how you choose moving forward. So now, not only were we, subjected to people who didn't love us well before, but now we've created that as kind of the mold. And we choose out of that place thinking we deserve only a person who doesn't love us. Now, I want to argue with most of you folks here. If you have somebody in your life who's not loving you well, I do want to give you some greater agency or responsibility here. I think that there's a part of you that's chosen that person out of some desire to prove to them, if you can get this person to like you, then you have worth. Now, I think you had people and choices of people who actually liked you, who actually would give you positive reinforcement all the time. You had those options, but you disregarded them because they weren't a challenge for you. So you're kind of stuck in this loop of like, if I can just get praise from a person who doesn't give praise, then I'll be okay. I think that's unhealthy. I think that's a bad trap. Yeah, I think it's a bad trap. Let me see.
So last year, I lost a friend to addiction. He was an alcoholic. He was very deep into the alcoholism. He hated the alcohol. But the alcohol allowed him to hide from who he was. And so there was this constant back and forth. And the alcohol won. But at least now, he's at peace. But while he was here, he hated that addiction he had.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry for the loss of your friend. Yeah. I think we've all lost people to their addictions in some form, I just recently lost someone a family member who has had some struggles. It's no joke, I don't know how my father made it out alive. He had addiction most of his life, and it came near death many times. And He's recovered now, thank God. It's been many years since he's used, but I didn't think he was going to make it out of it. Sometimes, I'll be honest with you, I kind of, when you're a kid and you're dealing with somebody with addiction, you're like, just like you said, I wish they could just have peace, because they clearly don't want to be here at some level, right? Like, they're clearly in deep levels of pain, right? Yeah. But if a person makes it out of that, and my dad had a heroin addiction, which is no joke. And so to make it out of there, most people don't make it out of there. Heroin is one of those things that it just snatches your soul. Alcohol is alcohol is another one. Really toxic to the system. Hard to break once you have a true addiction to alcohol. Alcohol is so powerful. Check this out. The hangover that you have the day after getting really fucked up, do you know that's addiction? That's withdrawal? That's withdrawal. That's what that is. You already have, just from the hangover for the next day of drinking alcohol, you have a low level of alcohol addiction in one fucking sitting. That's how addictive alcohol is. Who knew that, right? So the thing is, you need, the nature of dependence is that you need the drug to eliminate the side effect of the withdrawal, and you need more of the drug to achieve the high. So people typically, alcoholics, will wake up drinking just to not feel sick from the night before. And it starts their binge cycle again. That's why these, a lot of alcoholics will have, alcohol in their coffee in the morning type of thing. Yeah. Yo, it's good to have you guys. What's up? I'm Dr. Pete. It's good to hear you this morning. We're going to pop some bubbles here. Is this my dear friend, Eb?
Hey, Dr. Pete. Okay, so I think people would learn to love themselves. First of all, I am so in love with me. I've been this way since I was young. There's different things that made me feel like, oh no, I'm not trying to deal with her no more. But then I came back to my senses, and this me is the me I am, and I can't get enough of her. Yeah. So I think that some people need to look at themselves with the same eyes they look at someone they're in love with, whether they're in love with themselves or not. And you'll be able to accept whatever flaws or whatever the case may be. If you want to improve it, you improve it. You don't have to not love yourself in order to do that. But, it is what it is. Love you. Because ain't nobody going to love you like you love yourself. 100.
Yeah. Yeah. And you owe yourself that. I love you, Ab. It's so good to hear you. Aries is in the building. Long time no hear. Oh, man. Long time friend of the show. What's up, sis? So, yeah, good to have you back, in stereo. Good to have you out here. So I'll tell you, she's right. And I'm glad that you love yourself. And she's saying, I love myself and my imperfections. And that's a real difficult space to get to for many. Many of us are we have like a negativity bias. Our limitations, they really haunt us. Now, I'm imperfect, clearly, and there's many things that are imperfect, but sometimes there's a thing about you that is your struggle point. For me, weight loss is my struggle point, my relationship with food. And so when I'm in a good space in terms of eating and making right choices, I definitely love me more. There's a lot of things you can do to improve your self-love, to get back in love with yourself. One of the things that she's saying is the way that you talk to yourself is really important. I can't even stress it enough. Your self-affirmations, huge. The conversation, it's not sometimes that you don't have a dark thought. It's not sometimes that you have a negative or critical thought. That's fine. Even from your people around you. Sometimes people are going to give you feedback you just don't want to hear. It's just, what is the overarching, how do you talk to yourself most of the time? How do you answer that negative thought? How harsh are you with the negative thoughts? Are you beating yourself down? Because that's not going to do it, folks. If you're beating yourself down, it's only going to make it harder for you to make the next right choice. Actually, I'm just giving you this as a fact. It's the truth. You think, well, I got to beat myself up or else I won't get emotion. No, you don't. You can be gentler with yourself, and you'll see you'll be way more prolific. Your productivity will shoot to the sky because you'll be in a more loving disposition. When we're in love, we're much more productive. Yeah, when we're being loved, we're much more productive. When you're loving yourself, you're much more productive. So just remember that. Like, if you want to do better, you kind of got to be kind to you. Speak kindly to yourself. Sometimes I get in the mirror, give myself a little love. next time I want you to do yourself a little exercise. A lot of my patients say they really love this exercise. I want you to go into the mirror and I want you to look at yourself long and hard right after a shower, when you're like kind of naked, just you in the mirror, you know what I mean? And there's probably sometimes you look in that mirror and you'll see parts of your body, or if you're getting a little bit older like myself, I'm 45 now, you start, I see a little more gray here and there. And you sometimes find yourself attending to the thing that's not right with you. Oh man, look at this, I got this blemish over here. Or why am I getting a bag under my eye? Like, right, whatever the fuck, you start looking at yourself in these harsh ways, right? Especially under certain lights. I say to yourself, skip all that for a little while. Spend a little bit of time, even if you had to pay attention to all that for a minute, spend some time before you leave your mirror, before you leave that space, just loving you. Say to yourself, I love you. I love you, man. I love you. I love you, woman. I love you, self. I love you, Pete. Really talk to yourself in that way. Because, you need to hear it. Why not? Why not say that? Why not spread that energy to you? Why not? Why wouldn't you? You deserve it.
You're a D1 college football champion. You go hard in the paint. You can't take it easy on yourself. We expect you to take it very, very hard on yourself. You have to. Set an example.
Thank you. I just feel like there's an optimal level of pushing yourself, right? If you don't push yourself at all, you don't get anything achieved. But if you push yourself too hard, I think you get crushed by that. I don't think it's healthy. Yeah. We're hanging out. We're talking. You're on the couch, folks. We're tripping with Dr. Pete. We're talking a little bit about self-love and the process of getting back to loving yourself. Yeah, we're going to talk about it.
7 million liquid. When you have 7 million liquid, you can't be any happier for money. 7 million liquid.
Like Joe says, it's all about the money. 7 million liquid. I'll tell you, I won't turn away from $7 million, but I don't know if I'd sacrifice my life as it is for it. I love my daughter and I have that type of time with her. And I love my wife and love my friends. And, I just feel like so many people sacrifice so much for money. I don't know if that leaves them feeling, a true sense of love for themselves. And the crazy thing is, the more money you have, it's harder to trust the people around you, isn't it? So you don't even know if you're really getting loved at that point, or if they're just loving your money, right? Isn't that a thing? Oh, let's see what's up.
Dr. Pete, I got a question. For self-loving, now, do I have to take myself out to dinner? And if I do, am I having to put out afterward?
Yeah.
I mean, if I don't eat the dinner, I'm almost not obligated to put out. Am I right? I pretty much just stay home, not put out at all. No self-love whatsoever. I'm just a doctor on television, mostly. At the old folks' home, I sit on top of it.
Do I have to put out? Yeah, you probably do have to put out for yourself after you take yourself out. I like that.
To me, love making is trying to create another being. You're creating more love for the earth. So, like, if I'm having sex with somebody and I'm trying to literally merge bodies into one body, it's making a baby.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'd say for me, in terms of the love output and the feeling that I have, and I want to say output is important because you don't always know if your kid loves you like you love. I don't think they ever love you like you love them. They do. They love you. My daughter loves me. She said I'm her best friend in the past, but I don't know if I'm still her best friend. You know what I mean? Because high school's different. And you start growing, and how puberty is. It's characterized by fucking turmoil. The whole period of life, that developmental phase, is just crazy. So, but I'll tell you this: my love for my daughter is if any other love is like a 10. My love from being a father, being her father, like even just the pride I take in that role is like 1,000. So I totally understand what you're saying, Joe. It's a beautiful thing. I love myself because of the father that I am. So that definitely adds to my loving. But there's a lot of work there. A lot of work. I think that one of the morals that I want everybody to take away, I don't think there's no loving of the self without putting in work. I really just don't. I think the loving of the self is in some ways earned, right? Like it's like you can't get it for free. I can sit in the mirror and give myself affirmations all day. But if I'm not really pushing to do some difficult things, I don't think I'm going to really believe them. I don't think it's totally not helpful. I don't think it's totally a waste. Yeah. But I think it's the better thing to do, if I were to say even just to give yourself, you got to give yourself some self-love that's just random sometimes. And love yourself just because, like, in a spiritual way. Just love yourself because you're a being and you're here and fuck it, why not? But I also think it's really important to reinforce yourself for what you've done in a day. At the end of your day, before you go to bed, some people say prayers. After you say your prayers or, after you give your thanks or your evening meditation, make it a part of your evening meditation to just kind of tell yourself like, hey, you did that well today. Hey, let me look back on this. I did that. I got that in. Hey, listen, I've been doing exercise. So I did 2 miles yesterday. At the end of the day, 2 miles and 100 push-ups. I was like, you know what? That's all right. It's not, exactly where I want to be, but that's not bad. Hey, pretty good job there. I appreciate you for trying there, Doc. Keep pushing. I appreciate you guys for listening. So hang in. Hold on. Let me pop some bubbles.
But you still have to eat cookies and fried chicken. If you don't eat cookies and fried chicken, you will go sick in the mind. You have to eat those things every once in a while. It's just not all the time. You got to eat them.
Well, you have to eat them. I've had my fair share. I think I've had a lifetime of the bullshit. I'm kind of just hoping I can be done, at least until I want to look like my avatar in Second Life. I want to look like him. I want to have a 6-pack, beast of a chest. I don't want to wear a shirt anywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like even when I wear a suit jacket, I want to have no shirt underneath. That's it. Yeah.
Yes, that's why everybody says the best cure for a hangover is to just start drinking again. Shout out to you for this room right now. You know me, I go back and forth with drinking moderately to not drinking at all. Right now, I'm not drinking at all.
Yo, I'm glad you're not drinking at all, man. Taking a break. It's always good to take a break, reset from your vices. What's up, you guys? We're hanging out here, early morning show. Some of my favorite people are in the audience. Look at Sloan. That was Rashad Radio. If you don't know him, follow him. He's really good. He's a good time too.
Hey, Dr. P, how you doing, love? I had to stop by and say hello to my guy. I hope you're having a wonderful talk, and I'm definitely here to listen. You already know Dr. P.
Sloan is in the building. Come on, Sloan, talk to me. Come and talk to me, Sloan.
Dr. P, what's your cash app? I'm going to buy your lunch this afternoon. Give me your cash app, because you just out here doing your thing and giving back to the stereo community.
Oh, thank you, Sloan. I appreciate that. No cash app needed. I thank you guys so much for listening. That's all the payment that I need. I appreciate it. And I love you guys. I got to tell you, you guys are not just listeners. Many of you are my friends, and the love that you give me here, it makes me love myself. It does. Your reinforcement, your praise, it all feels good. And these things, doing these things, being this kind of sharing what I've understood, or even what I'm struggling to understand, sharing it and having this platform, being in this space as a podcaster, this is something that I've wanted to do. And so this is also part of my journey towards loving myself. Thank you guys for being a part of it, for sure.
That's really interesting you say about the negative thought, because with people I know or people I'm dealing with, I never apply the words ought, need, should, always, all those words that are usually our agenda on other people's. But for myself, I apply that you should, you ought, you need. But the older I've got, honestly, I pick my battles, and I'm almost like, is this really serving me, or can I be bothered to get involved with something? Because that is my form of self-respect, self-love, keeping my energy to myself as opposed to scattering it in causes that are not really worth my time. And that's something I've learned. It's taken me a long time to learn that. But yeah, I noticed that I'm kinder to other people than I am to myself. But that's, historic patterns and that takes years to undo. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I do think it's a process. We like they say, it didn't take me a day to put on this weight. It didn't take me a day to. It doesn't take a day to fall in love. To hate myself or hate things about me. These are just long things I've been struggling with. So sometimes it takes a long time to change pattern. I'm totally with you, Anna Toodles. Anna, by the way, that's a pretty big. Anna is a big podcaster here on this stereo app. So follow her. I obviously see she's checkmarked, but you can hear her thoughts. To hang out with her is to grow. So that's what I think. There's a whole group of folks who hang out in my audiences. They really appreciate kind of growing, and so they're just thinkers, and they have tremendous perspective, and they add to the show in ways that, for me, no other platform really provides. So that much I truly love about Stereo and the crew. Yeah. So let's keep popping here. Let's see what's going on.
I am completely in love with the woman I became. Hey, Dr. P. How you doing, bro? Long time no hear.
Prototype, where you at? I don't see you down there in the audience. Prototype, what's up? Prototype, yeah, it's good to be in love with yourself. Tell me a little bit about why. I want to know why why you would say that you're completely in love. Have you earned it? Have you worked hard in some things? Have you kind of demonstrated to yourself that you're a person who's worthy of love, or do you just give yourself the love because you're a person? And that's a good reason. I don't really give a shit. Whatever, makes you feel good about yourself is good. For me, my belief is, and I kind of Nietzsche says this, it's really earned. You will like yourself the more you traverse in your life, the more obstacles you're able to get over. Every time you fail and then you get up, the moment you get up, you like yourself a little bit more just for getting up. Yeah, especially if you just have a way of putting your failures in your rear view, only as lessons. I have this philosophy that I've stumbled upon that I love, and I would talk to my daughter about it now. Before I was like, win, win, win. That was my philosophy. And now I'm like, win or learn. Not win or lose, because I hate losing. And so I've just taken losing out, and it's win or learn. And when you have that disposition, like you're learning and ready to fight, and even if you haven't got that next win yet, you have the thing that you're working on, you get to feel good about yourself. You get to love yourself because you're on the path. There's something there, I'm telling you. All right, we're going to try to pop some bubbles. I'm going to have a couple people come up and join me. If you'll hang out, I'd love to have you up in a minute. Just hang out. We're going to pop some of these bubbles, see what's up.
Dr. P, you finally agree with me. You have to love yourself extremely before you can love anybody else. Okay? Okay, Dr. Pete. Awesome. You should be the king of stereo as well. There's a couple of you that I think that should be kings of stereo.
Thank you. So we're going to disagree. Because I believe you can, and I'm going to say this, Sloan, I do believe you need to love yourself. And I do believe, and I agree with you, that you have to be familiar with love and you have to be in a good place in order to be able to connect well with someone else, for sure. I do think so. I do think that, like sometimes we love others more than we love ourselves, Or sometimes you can feel pretty bad about the person you are. And sometimes even that can motivate you to be very caring. Some of the most caring, giving people that I know have a little bit of low self-esteem. They have a little bit low self-liking. Maybe some low self-efficacy, not really fully believing in themselves. But boy, are they loving people. You know what I'm talking about? So I agree with you that, and then sometimes those same people, so I agree with you because those same people sometimes can be taken advantage of. And they leave themselves in a position to be used. And that's not good love. That's not okay from my perspective. But I do get what you're saying, and I hope I'm speaking to the complexity of the issue. Yeah. Oh, we got some more here. Hold on.
It's so weird we're having this conversation. I'm looking to buy some stuff for my home. I'm renovating. And I've just found a little mirror for my downstairs bathroom, which is in the shape of a heart. So I'm going to buy it.
There you go. Get up in that heart mirror and just let the love be returned. I love it. Yeah, let's get to it.
Dr. Pete, you got a good point about having a personal chef who makes you eat what you get. Because I have one too. Her name is Brenda here at the home. She pretty much just feeds us, silver dollar-sized pork chops, mashed potatoes. I think that's what they are. They're kind of a greenish color. And pretty much rounds it out with the Werther's Originals, which is primarily most of my diet. They're delicious until they get stuck in your dentures and they get locked together. And nobody can understand. And then they just shove you the pills, a rainbow of pills down your throat. That's the other part of my diet. Apparently they have no health benefit as far as getting proteins. Anyways, thanks, Pete, for all your good work. If you drive past the Sunnyside old folks home and you feel like rescuing somebody, I'll wave. You just honk the horn. I'll run out there if they don't catch me.
Snatch him up. Dr. One Ill. Yo, I'll tell you. If I think I know who, Dr. One Ill reminds me of a friend of mine. He has a lot of personalities here on this app, and he's pretty fucking funny, comic genius. It could be wrong. Because that's how good this guy is. He slips into these different characters. But, Dr. One Ill could be just a brand new guy. Nice to meet you, man. Good to have you on.
On the topic of putting in the work for loving yourself. Earlier today, my adult daughter, who has, thankfully, blessed me with being a grandmother.
Oh.
She said to me, she goes, I always wondered, I wonder now why it looks so easy for you to do whatever you were doing. Now, I was a single mom. There was nothing easy that she was watching. But what she didn't get to see or realize until she became an adult was that I was putting a lot of work in to make sure that she and her sister had everything that they needed. And we have to put work in for everything that we love. And I love my kids enough to work hard enough for them to not know that it was a struggle while they were watching.
Yeah, right? Making that shit look easy. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing. Nobody knows how hard it is to do all that we're doing. That's one of the things that helps me be compassionate to people. Is I just try to remind myself that we're all just doing our best. And we're all pretty exhausted from it. It's not easy to just keep your head above water. I think it's beautiful that your kids came back and kind of was able to see that, where they're able to see that. And particularly when they become a parent themselves, do they really get it? Like, holy shit. Men, we have our experience in this thing, and particularly men who are deeply invested. It's stress. It's not easy. But a woman's work, a mother, it's something unbelievable. The way you guys do it, it's amazing. It's amazing. And that postpartum, just talking about early motherhood, because every stage of parenting has a different thing. But the early motherhood part, where you're postpartum and your emotions and your body and everything is exhausted, you went through all this experience of childbirth, and then there's this change in your entire being. You feel like a sense of gain because you have the person and the loss at the same time. I mean, I've only heard it be described, and then finding a way to create an environment of happiness and manage all of the caretaking needs and all of the anxiety, and then still try to see if you can be a wife or partner. Unbelievable. So shout out to the mothers and to those women and their work. I see you. And I think all the men who love you, we're super thankful. And the people that you love, when love comes from that space, or all the stuff that you create, a lot of times for women, the loving is in the environment that they create. You know what I'm talking about? Whether it's the food, the details, even just going to get the toilet tissue, making sure that there's the toilet tissue is stocked. I mean, I know that sounds weird, and I'm not trying to reduce or be reductionist because women do many, many things to make the household. But it's some of that is a communication and expression of love. Yeah. And I think sometimes it gets unseen, I think whether it's within yourself or within others, it's really important to try to take the full picture, take stock of everything. There's a saying, and you stay with me for a second. Now, there's a saying that said, if you tip a bartender and they don't see it, then it didn't happen. You ever hear the notion like, if a tree falls in the forest and nobody hears it, then it doesn't make a sound? Like, that's the thing, right? Like, so many things that we do don't get noted in our own psyche. Like, we just skip it. We don't give them credit. So many things other people do, we just skip it. We just take it for granted, and we just see them in the moment that they show up in us, but we forget all that they do to make that moment special. I think within ourselves, in order to love yourself, you have to give credit to more of the things that you do. Appreciate yourself on multiple levels. Let's pop a couple bubbles here and see what folks are talking about. We got a lot of bubbles in the cut here. Here we go.
Completely disagree. Why would you love your imperfections? Work on them. Make them better. Make your imperfections your perfections.
Yeah, I don't think we're saying the wrong thing. I don't think we're saying to not love your self. I mean, to just embrace and accept yourself and your lesser self. I'm just saying to yourself, saying to you that the anxiety that's created from being critical of yourself is not helpful. It stops you from being able to get to a better space. You know what I mean? Like, if you're really rough with yourself, you're not going to do better. Or if not. And it's just, the research shows it. The anxiety loop that gets created, you start to you function less well. People think that they can do really well if they just get really harsh and kick their own ass and be but it just leads to a depressed state. If it doesn't lead to an extreme level of anxiety that fucks them up, it leads to an extreme level of depression that just totally robs them from any activity at all. Anytime you're not doing a thing, a part of it is because, and that's what the definition of depressed, action is difficult to get motivation for. And if you're feeling bad about yourself, your motivation is going to be even lower. Yeah, we can talk about that. We got a couple more bubbles here. We're going to see what's up, you guys. It's good to hear from you.
That's a fact, man. I do that too. So I would advise all y'all. I look in the mirror, have a date with myself, tell myself I love myself, all that shit. And yeah, I did push-ups the other day too, Dr. Pete. Wasn't as many as I'd like to get done, but my body told me I did it. So yeah, I thanked myself and yeah, man, keep working on it. Good show, man.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, absolutely. Thank you, self. Right at the end of a thing that you do that's difficult. Every little difficult thing, it adds up into your psyche as to who you are. You're the culmination of all those works. You got to give yourself credit for it. Otherwise, it's like tipping the bartender when they don't see it. You don't give yourself credit for it, it's like it didn't happen. Don't take it for granted that you made it to the gym. One of the things I love to do is you have a partner let them know there's no shame in telling your partner, I need your reinforcement. I need your positive reinforcement. I need your praise. I need to be affirmed. Tell your partner that. I need to feel like you're loved so it can help me love myself and just, and give that to your partner. Give that to your partner. I think a good rule, it's like the Gandhi rule, right? It's like, be the change you want to see in your relationship. You know what I'm saying? So if you want to receive love, give love. You want your partner to be less critical, be less critical. Because the opposite is the worst. Yeah. This is Dr. Pete, and you've been tripping with Dr. Pete. For the full show, please listen to us live on stereo, or you can listen to playbacks on YouTube, Anchor, and Spotify. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, huh? Peace.